to Revolution Report, the show that highlights pressing issues, uplifts community voices, and questions the status quo. I'm Sarah Livings-Walsh.
And I'm Analisa Venolia.
We felt the need to dive deeper into societal problems and explore subjects from diverse perspectives. So join us in the revolution. This week, we wanted to begin our first installment in the Liberation series. With this, we wanted to speak to our audience about ways that they can be liberated in their own lives.
This episode, we wanted to scratch the surface of how women can be freer in our current patriarchal, capitalist society.
We'll be touching on a few topics from the dangers of relying on external validation to the importance of voting. So, we wanted to ask the women and femmes in our audience to think about these topics and how they affect their lives. And for our male listeners, ask yourselves, are you perpetuating these caging beliefs, or are you uplifting the women in your lives?
So, let's jump right in. We're all conditioned to seek validation from others since we're born, regardless of our gender identity. But the way that women especially are conditioned to seek that validation hits a little bit differently. Women are conditioned to seek validation in ways that play into hegemonic structures. And by that, I mean structures upheld and enforced by those in power, things like the patriarchy and capitalism. And that plays out in expectations that women face, like the expectation that women need to be dressed nicely and presentable when in public, the belief that women need to wear makeup when they're seen in public, or that they need to shave their natural body hair.
Right. No, shame is a very powerful emotion that I believe everyone in this world has faced at one point or another. But for especially women, when women feel shame for not wearing makeup, for not dressing how men would want them to dress or how society would want them to dress, it can lead to negative self-esteem. It can lead to withdrawals from social situations.
Yes. And the fear of experiencing that shame from the people around you can lead women to play into those gender roles, those power structures, those expectations in a way that is detrimental to themselves, ultimately. It took me quite a bit of work to get to a place where I felt comfortable not always shaving my legs, where I felt comfortable not wearing makeup or having my hair done or wearing a cute outfit when seen out in public. I used to put on a full face, and sometimes I even wore heels to Safeway, which is crazy. It's just a grocery store. But now I'm comfortable rolling up to Whole Foods in my beat-up Vans, a ratty t-shirt, my hair unbrushed, and no makeup on my face. It took me a while to get there, but I did.
But you did. And that's the important thing that needs to be celebrated. From wearing heels to Safeway, from dressing to the nines at a grocery store, to just wearing what is comfortable. How did you overcome that shame? And could you tell our listeners how you did that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I spent some time thinking about where those pressures came from that I felt. Was it actually something that I myself deeply wanted, to be looking the cutest at Safeway? Or did I care about how others perceive me? Did those expectations come from men? Did those expectations that I needed to have a full face of makeup on when seen in public, is that because I always want to be wearing makeup? Or is it because me spending money on makeup benefits the people who own those companies and thus plays into capitalism? I spent some time asking myself those questions, and honestly, looking at women who had already reached a place where they didn't feel the need to do those things, and I looked to those women as inspiration, and I asked myself, is this really necessary for me to feel happy and fulfilled? And I came to the conclusion, it wasn't. And now I feel so free wandering about in public, looking however I like. Sure, sometimes I will have a full face on because I'm doing a whole little look, and it's just for me. But it's for me. It's not for other people at this point. And yeah, I'm really glad I did that.
No, I'm very proud of you, and especially as someone that's seen you go through that journey. I'm just very proud of you because I see a confidence within you, And I think that's what's important, especially for our listeners to hear, to surround yourself with people who want you to be liberated.
Yeah, like, thank you so much for saying that. And I'm glad you see that in me. And I want to say that Sarah actually helps me feel confident in that because she never shames me for showing up to her house in no makeup, for showing up to her house with unshaven legs.
Girl, why would I?
Exactly. But that's important. And I love you for that because you create a space where I'm able to do those things free from that societal pressure and that societal shame. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, so the beauty industry and the plastic surgery industry wouldn't exist if people were confident and loved themselves.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's something that my therapist actually told me a while ago because I'm going to be totally transparent. Like, I was bullied all throughout my childhood about how I looked. And that took a toll on me.
Of course.
And so there were points in my life that I actually thought about getting plastic surgery. But I'm so happy that I was talked out of it because I wouldn't be doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be going under a knife for the right reasons.
Yeah.
What, to appease people? What, to make people not, like, hurt me? You know, I don't think you're doing it for the right reasons then.
Yeah, I am so sorry that you experienced that. That is horrific, and no one should be made to feel bad for the way that they naturally look. You're gorgeous.
Oh my God, thank you.
Screw those people in the past. Sorry that they didn't have eyes that could see what I can so clearly see. You know, they're wrong. And quite honestly, I'm glad, you know, that you never did any operations to change the way you look because I truly do believe you're so beautiful as you are.
And thank you.
Yeah, and I'm so proud of you for reaching that place where you don't feel the need to succumb to those social pressures.
Right.
That uphold, let's be real, Eurocentric beauty standards.
Absolutely.
Like, the standards that are upheld as the pinnacle of female beauty are racist in origin.
Yeah.
And they're unattainable for most women. And so all that trying to achieve them does to women is make them feel bad about themselves. And it's not something that you're ever going to feel like you fully achieved. So it's a pointless endeavor. You're just pushing the rock up the hill only for it to roll back down again.
No, exactly. Because beauty trends, what we need to realize, change so drastically, so quickly. So something that may be in fashion, let's say 10 years ago, wouldn't hold up today. And so before you truly go under the knife, I want people to understand and really feel what I'm saying right now. The beauty standard that you are trying to achieve is going to change.
Correct. I mean, look at, for example, the Kardashians got some of their operations reversed, and they were the pinnacle of female beauty standards in the 2010s. And for them to get some of those operations reversed, what happens to the millions of girls who spent thousands of dollars trying to look like them?
Yeah.
Spending money on surgeries to get their bodies to look like the Kardashians' bodies.
Yeah.
And now the Kardashians reversed those operations. Those girls just spent thousands of dollars on achieving a look that isn't even the pinnacle of female beauty standards anymore.
I think when we hear about liberation, it's often coming from an old rhetoric. It's not coming from a current rhetoric. Like accounting for social media.
Yeah.
Like, we're not really told how to navigate social media and its impacts.
Yeah, 100%. Some things from the past are definitely still relevant today. Like,
absolutely,
the fact that women shouldn't have to shave their natural body hair, that we all know, or maybe we don't, but it's a pretty well-known fact now that was an idea that was perpetuated by razor companies during World War II because the men were off at war and they still needed to sell razors, so they told women to start shaving. But there are things that you're so correct. that are uniquely contemporary problems, things that affect people only today, not 30-something years ago. Things like social media. You're talking about the pressures of how people look on social media.
Right. And we're not even accounting for who are you posting for?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you looking a certain way? Who is this for?
Yes. And that brings up something that I think is really important to talk about, which is that it's not just men who are enforcing these beauty standards. You're talking about who are we posting for? Often it's other women who are enforcing these beauty standards, who are policing how other women present themselves online or in public and shaming them for not meeting these made-up standards in the first place.
Right. No, I completely agree. That's what hate wants.
Yes.
That's what bigotry wants. Bigotry wants people who are affected by standards and who are affected by systemic issues to turn on each other.
Yes.
They want infighting.
Yes, and they want those people to do the work for them. Because women attacking other women, policing how other women present themselves, doesn't serve us as women as a whole. It doesn't do anything for us women. All it does is uphold the patriarchy. And that's exactly what the patriarchy wants. The patriarchy doesn't need men to do the shaming anymore. No. We'll do it to each other. And that's horrible.
And it makes me feel horrible.
Yeah, it's no good.
Why isn't what's natural for women presentable? But furthermore, why is it not professional? Like, for example, women wearing makeup in the workplace. But men don't have to?
Yeah.
We have the same skin. We have the same nose. We have the same internal workings.
Yeah.
But why does one have to do a certain thing and the other doesn't?
That's such a good point. A man's bare face is considered fine for him to walk into work, but a woman does it. Oh, she looks tired. Oh, she's not being professional.
Or, oh, she looks sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is our natural face sickly? That's a goofy concept.
Speaking of men, let's talk about decentering men in your life. What does that mean? It doesn't mean you hate men. It means you stop placing men's needs and desires above your own. You do the things that make you happy instead of putting them to the side and do something for a man. You stop seeking that external validation from men in all parts of your life and instead focus on fulfilling your own happiness. You stop making yourself smaller so a man doesn't feel bad and instead celebrate yourself, your ideas, and your accomplishments.
Yeah, this may seem like a no-brainer, but pause and really ask yourself, how often do you ignore your own needs and wants for men without realizing? It's a cliche, but it's true. You should live your life for yourself and your own happiness. And you may find your happiness grows when you stop prioritizing men over yourself.
Which brings us to our next point. The importance of practicing what you preach. Like, for example, liberation starts from within.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot help others be free if you are not free yourself. It's like the metaphor goes. You have to put on your own mask before you put on someone else's.
Yeah, I think you're so right. I think you can't be expected to authentically help someone else find their way free from the shackles of patriarchal expectations and capitalist expectations if you haven't done the work for yourself, because you don't know what that really looks like to live that. So how can you guide them through that process?
Right. And the little ways that I actually wanted to bring up on this episode that Anna is practicing. Like, for example, she's freeing herself from capitalism. By making her own clothes.
Yes, I did start making my own clothes. I just made myself a skirt.
It's so cute.
Thank you, Queen. And I did this because Sarah wanted me to make her Halloween costume. And I said, you got it, Queen. Let me get my sewing skills in shape to make this outfit for you. She's going to be the cutest Daphne the world has ever seen.
Oh my God.
But when I started making clothes in preparation as practice to get ready for sewing her Halloween costume, I discovered how much I loved sewing and how much cheaper it is to not buy clothes from the store and instead make them myself.
Yeah.
I am by no means an expert seamstress. My clothes are not flawlessly made, but they look cute and they're wearable.
Well, I beg to differ, Queen, because the bag I have is spectacular.
Oh, thank you, Angel. You are so kind. But Sarah raises an important point. When you find ways to remove yourself from participating in certain capitalist systems, you are participating in a form of liberation for yourself. By not participating in fast fashion through making my own clothes, am removing that element of capitalism from my life. I could take it a step further, of course, and I hope to do this as I continue on the sewing journey, which is then focusing on where I get my fabrics from. And that would be the next step in making clothes for myself be that much more ethical.
And sustainable.
Exactly. You can repurpose fabrics that already exist. That's a huge part of ethically sourcing your fabrics. Like finding something you thrifted and being like, I love that fabric. Let me make it into something else. Using some sheets, using fabrics that have been discarded elsewhere. That's a really ethical way. And you're not harming the environment by repurposing fabrics. And you are also literally excluding yourself from capitalism in that way because you're not purchasing anything to make these clothes.
Which is a form of practicing liberation.
110%. Yeah. Wonderful point, Sarah. I had fully forgotten about that.
I didn't. I love my bag.
I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do, Queen.
Now, I do want to bring up that we are speaking about a very serious topic here, and there are safety concerns in practicing liberation. Like, yes, we are bantering back and forth. Yes, we have our cute moments, but I don't want to negate from the fact that these are very serious issues and that we need to empower ourselves. We need to empower other people, but we need to do it safely.
Correct. We are lucky enough to live in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah.
And it may be easy to take the rights and freedoms that we have for granted, but we need to be real with the rights and freedoms that we have as women living here are not universal to women around the world, and they can be taken away.
Easily. We are seeing that across the world right now. Women's rights are on the chopping block all over the world. Some have successfully been chopped.
Yeah.
And we need to keep that in mind, especially for this election.
Yes. Yes. Which brings us to a really important point. Voting is crucial. As women, as any gender minority, voting is essential to preserving your rights and fighting for the rights of other people.
No, I completely agree. And a way to practice liberation is by getting out there and voting, is by registering to vote.
Registering to vote, going out there, actually doing the voting. It is how you make your voice heard in our political system. And to not vote is to actively choose and be okay with your rights being taken away.
It's complacency.
It is complacency. And no liberation is achieved through complacency.
Yeah. Yeah, circling back to safety, I really want to reiterate how it really is not safe sometimes to practice this liberation in small ways, this defiance in small ways, or even big ways. Because sometimes we are in situations that we cannot control. We cannot control how other people will react to us. We cannot control if that'll be taken out on us.
Yeah.
And so I want people to be mindful and keep that in mind.
Sarah's so right. Your physical safety is always a priority, and you should always put that first.
Yeah, and we here at Revolution Report, we recognize you, we see you, and we are fighting for you.
We are.
we wrap this episode up, I wanted to leave our listeners with this point. All women are born feminists. But life experiences determine whether or not that continues. Like, for example, no baby is born with bigotry. No baby is born with biases. Babies are just born.
Yeah.
But life can skew that one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah, it can make a woman feel that it is a man's natural place to be above her in society. And that may condition her into having certain patriarchal beliefs. But she was not born that way, believing that she is subservient to men.
Yeah.
And that is why we wanted to discuss a couple ways women can practice liberation this episode and highlight the issues and systemic pressures women face around the world. We wanted to talk about these things in the hopes that having this conversation will help shape a better society going forward, and that one day, a girl can grow up free from the socialization that makes her believe that she is less than men.
We hope you enjoyed listening to our discussion, and we look forward to continuing our conversation about liberation and going more in depth in future episodes. This has been Revolution Report. I'm Sarah Livings Walsh.
And I'm Analisa Venolia.
Thank you so much for listening, and now, back to the music.